With us, we have Minister Andrew Perez, and he will be sharing some remarks before we go into the recent updates from our presenters. Minister, please go ahead. Minister Perez, are you hearing us?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Okay, seems we lost you again. I know the weather is horrible today, so we do not have the best signal from everyone. You're breaking up, Minister. Maybe if you take off your camera, we will have some better feedback.
Yeah, everybody get on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Yes. Okay. Now, can you hear me now clearly?
yes, we can.
Yes. Good morning, everybody, and the press and everybody in the country. Just reaching out here. I'm here in San Pedro at the moment. Yes, we're watching this weather very, very carefully. Everybody, all eyes are on this tropical storm Sarah. The main point I think I want to share to everybody
Maybe if
here
you
is the
take off
message.
your camera. Okay, go ahead, please.
All right. Yes. Can you hear me now clearly? Apologies for the breaking up here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, good morning, everybody. Yes, as I was saying, we're closely monitoring this weather. And of course, before I leave you all in terms of the briefing, the technical advisory is going to be coming from all from the Met Chief as well as from the NEC, from Nemo, as well as from others. First of all, I want to really thank everybody who has been involved here. Of course, MIDH, the BDF, the police, transport, all the different municipalities as well that are giving their hands as well, and the Nemo team. This is all a concerted effort of working and collaborating together, and I want to thank each and every one of you all that put in there. No, I think what we want to highlight from the government standpoint here at this point in time is very much is public safety. Very, very important as that we, while we are hunkering down, we know it's lots of rains. Of course, our focus is the floods. By all accounts right now, what the figures are coming in as a high, many inches of rain. I think in the area of Glover's Reef, Middle Key registered over 15 inches of rain. In San Pedro, I think it's 5 inches, and Kikaka 3 inches, and in down south, we're expecting lots more rains. So the message here is that we need to hunker down. We want to most importantly share is that the safety of everyone is important. Okay, and for the moment, I just want to share also that here in San Pedro, of course, the Nemo team is mobilizing, and approximately about 650 passengers have been evacuated or at least voluntarily decided to move to go mainland, right? So that is basic on this side here. I got a report as well from up north that we are dealing as well with the floodings over there as well. And more importantly, our eyes, our focus is on the west in the Cayo district. I have had a discussion this morning with both Minister Shabat and Minister Bet, and we're out looking at it and very much concerned. So that is the area of focus. While we, as the Chief Met will tell you, that sometimes we think about tropical storms or hurricanes, and we first focus on the winds. While already, I think the latest statistics is showing that we're finally seeing some kind of a northwest kind of turn. It still is a tropical storm with gusts about 45 miles per hour. So I think at this point in time, while we always worry about hurricanes, right now the concern is want everyone to focus on the rains and the floods. And I want to ask and appeal to each and every Belizean out there to heed, to listen to the authorities, in particular that we have many things coming out of social media. Everybody wants to be I want to be weather forecaster these days and YouTubers and all these things. I want to really, from a government standpoint, to ask our people to desist from watching these things and sharing all of these things, TikTok and everything. Sometimes even people send it to me. While we do appreciate that you all share your footage of what is happening around your areas, that is appreciated. But in the end, I want to caution each and everyone out there listening is that let's listen to our local authorities. In fact, I want to share that the Met Service feeds into the entire regional grid to what is the National Hurricane Center. So all data that our Met office serves supplies to the NHC is the same information that these weather forecasters are on YouTube sharing out there. So basically, they're using our data for them to amplify. Yes, they have the technology to do these things, but in the end, we're all safe, and I can assure you from a government standpoint as well that the authorities here, the Met Office, the Nemo department, we're all the ones who are really getting all information. We want to, they're the official voice of government and the people of this country we need to listen to. And that is the most important I want to highlight. In closing, I think also safety. This is the time that while we are worried about a hurricane, sometimes we want to be going out there checking a window or a roof. Please be careful. We don't want to have accidents, which already I'm getting reports. We're getting a couple reported. But that is also sometimes casualty occurred during the storm. So please, everybody, just stay calm. Do not panic. This will pass. And the optimistic side is that this could have been worse. But nonetheless, we have in front of us a storm. Rains and floods cannot be ignored. And certainly our government is working. Cabinet is being briefed on every hour. That's my responsibility to share with Prime Minister and Cabinet. And we are engaged. I think that's the most important. We are engaged. We're highly organized. And that's the point I want to close off. And I want to thank again the Nemo team and NEC and the Met chief and his department as well. And a great job they do, the noble job that they do. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for those words, Minister. You couldn't have said it better. I love that you reinforce the importance of tuning into our local authorities and for us to keep being prepared and to follow the update. So thank you once again. With that, we will go into the current updates for Tropical Storm Sarah. I will ask our Chief Met to please go ahead with his presentation.
Sorry to
Aaron, I'm
interrupt.
sorry. Aaron, I'm sorry. Can we please wait for the Q&A?
I had
questions.
Sorry, I did have one thing for the minister, but
yes,
okay.
The minister will. Please go ahead, Minister. Is that if that is fine? Please go ahead, and we'll proceed with the questions.
Okay, I just had one question, Minister, with regard to any issues with I guess not evacuation, but shelters and so on there in San Pedro and Kikaker. I don't know if you mentioned that, but if you didn't, just an idea of where we stand with that, given that there are vulnerable areas on the islands as well, that you're representative of, no?
Yes, of course I'll answer that question. For sure, yes, both Kikaker and San Pedro, we are very much prepared with shelters. The RC school in Kikaker, and of course we have different places here in San Pedro, namely the high school, and Sagebrush is one of them. They're going to be prepared as of tomorrow. But however, I think the focus here is not really Kikaker and San Pedro. While we are, of course, vulnerable, there are many areas that we are focusing at the national level, which is mostly down south. We will have to be more attentive on that part, no?
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Minister.
Okay, thank you for that. Can we ask that you kindly hold any other questions for the Q&A? Mr. Gordon, can you please proceed?
Yes, good morning. I would like to acknowledge the Honorable Minister Andre Perez this morning on the call. And certainly good morning to the members of the media and good morning, Belize. I will start off again by presenting what is on the official website of the National Meteorological Service. Currently, we have several alerts and warnings in place. Of course, the most significant one is in relation to Tropical Storm Sarah, which as of 9 a.m. this morning was located at 16.3 north, 86.5 west. And that puts it about 140 miles southeast of Belize City. Sarah is drifting, I wouldn't say moving, but drifting to the west-northwest at 2 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. And as most of us would know, but I will repeat, a tropical storm warning is in effect for the entire coast of Belize, including all our keys. Apart from the tropical storm warning, the Met Service is issuing several alerts and warnings, like I said before. That includes an excessive rainfall warning. We have seen as the minister mentioned, over 15 inches of rainfall already at one of our stations. And of course, we are seeing squally and gusty winds, and therefore we have had a small crop warning in effect from since yesterday, and that remains in place. So we advise operators of small vessels to either seek safe harbor, which should have been done by now, or remain in safe harbor and don't venture out into sea. And of course, the tropical storm warning is in effect. On our webpage, as I said before, we update constantly. This is our municipal forecast showing that we expect inclement weather conditions from the north of the country up in Corozal all the way down to the south in Punta Gorda. In terms of our local weather stations, I'm going to focus on this particular station. Well, I should. Middle Key was mentioned in our briefing in the advisory, so I'll bring that up. This is the total rainfall since midnight, 98.4 millimeters. And there was a gust there this morning to about, I think it was 37 or 38 miles per hour. Since then, we have had another significant area of gusty winds in Maga Key, which is further north. And I will show that in another presentation or later. But again, this information is updated live and fed into our website. There's nobody out there measuring. These are automatic weather stations, and the data is available to the public. It is also available through our app, which you can find on the Google Play by searching for Belize Weather. The 4-day forecast is indicating that we expect conditions to remain cloudy tomorrow, with showers persisting and decreasing later in the afternoon into the night. By Monday, we expect fair conditions, and for those of you interested in the 19th of September celebration, weather should be good by then. Later in the week, an approaching cold front will support an increase in showers towards the weekend. And for those of us who like the cool, let's keep our fingers crossed that by the next weekend, we should be in relatively cool weather after the passage of a cold front. Now, in terms of what is the main issue in front of us, which is Tropical Storm Sarah, I will first present our radar imagery. The close-up view covering much of Belize City, Ladyville area into Belmopan is showing several areas of showers moving across the country. So we expect the rainfalls to continue. If I bring up the broader view, which covers most of northern Central America, Yucatan Peninsula, and even parts of Honduras, you can see a slight cyclonic turning around here. And this is in relation to the center of Sarah, which is somewhere in here near the Bay Islands. Next, let's look at what is occurring in terms of the satellite imagery. The reds indicate deep thunderstorm activity. And we're seeing that the center of Sarah is somewhere here, like I said, around the Bay Islands, and there's not much thunderstorm activity near the center. This indicates that our tropical storm is rather disorganized, with most of the deep convection occurring well removed from the center and to the northwest, and precisely why we are experiencing inclement weather across the country. Our database, which stores all that information I presented to you just now, that is on live on our website, is stored in this database. And this is the rainfall accumulation from midday on Thursday, when we started to have impacts from Tropical Storm Sarah. At that time, it was potential tropical cyclone, I think 19, but now Tropical Storm Sarah. And what we can see are the red areas which show the heaviest rainfall have been occurring in the central, western, and even up to the northern parts of the country. Interestingly, the extreme south of the country, Punta Gorda and Barranco, have experienced limited rainfall based on our observations. And if there's somebody on the ground there, they may want to confirm that for us. However, the point of interest is Maga Key, where we have recorded, like the minister mentioned, over 15 inches of rainfall since Thursday. Most of this occurred last night or during the past 12 to 18 hours. The Belize City area, about 4 inches. At the airport, approaching 5 inches. San Pedro has recorded more rainfall since I updated the minister this morning. So we are currently at about 7 inches of rainfall over San Pedro and counting. In terms of the winds, these are the observations from the winds. If I zoom out, you can see that the highest or the strongest wind activity has been occurring over the northeastern parts of the country, and of course offshore. And as we'd expect over land, you would not have significant wind, except for over the higher elevations like Beacon, where of course, because you're at a higher elevation, you will be getting stronger winds as well. But the one that I presented earlier was Magaki, where we had a gust this morning at 750, I think more or less, of 35.6 knots, which converts to about 41 miles per hour, which is within the tropical storm range. The tracking tool that was developed in conjunction with the National Met Service and Nemo is showing the potential path of tropical storm Sarah, which shows it moving generally towards the west, northwest to northwest, and eventually making landfall somewhere from this point, Placencia, up to just north of Belize City. But like I've always said, this is a probability distribution with the highest probability occurring in the center, which would suggest somewhere near Dangriga. But again, we cannot focus on an exact point. The storm could shift within this general area and make landfall. Before I move further, in relation to landfall, I do not, I will say it now, believe that it is a very consequential issue. Why? Most of the activity with the system is well ahead of it, as we're experiencing. As we saw from the satellite imagery, there is not much thunderstorm activity occurring near the center. So when the center make landfall sometime tomorrow, you may say that the weather has basically, it may appear that the weather is much better than it is now. Because again, most of the activity is occurring well away from that center. So determining where or when the center cross land in this particular case is rather inconsequential. That is something that would matter when you have a very strong hurricane, where most of the winds and severe weather is concentrated near the center. For a disorganized tropical storm like this, a lot of the activity is occurring away from the center, as I said. Another tool that we use to monitor the track of the system is called Horevac. Again, showing the system coming towards Belize. By tomorrow morning at 6, it should be just offshore, moving to the west-northwest at 7 miles per hour at that time, with winds of 45 miles per hour. Again, we won't focus exactly on where it is showing it making landfall. You can see from your own, or you should know where this is, but I would mention it could be even north or south of this particular location. So let's keep that in mind. These are models, they are subject to error. As I said there, error cone, right? It means that there is error within that area. It could be more or less. A next image that, and I think this is my second to last presentation or slide, if you may, is the total rainfall forecast from midnight last night through to midnight on Sunday. So it's 48-hour forecast of rainfall, showing that we can expect another, let me bring up the legend or the, yes, another 6 to about 8 inches of rainfall possibly across the country for the next 48-hour period. Again, from midnight last night to about midnight on Sunday. So we expect more rainfall as we're seeing in association with the system. But if you're more interested in how the rainfall will be distributed in time, this is the Global Forecasting System Model Forecast, showing the center of Sahara still near the Bay Islands of Honduras, with bands of showers and thunderstorms across Belize as we're experiencing. And by this afternoon, you can see a significant band of showers and thunderstorms developing across the country. And that will persist. Actually, this is rainfall of about 2 to 3 inches in 3 hours, which will lead to significant flooding and possible flash flooding across the country. Again, showing the rainfall intensifying actually over the mountains later this evening into tonight, with the low approaching the mainland. By tomorrow morning, the low should be very near us, as I said before, or the center of Sahara, and it should cross us sometime between 6 a.m. and midday tomorrow. And by then you see the rainfall decreasing. So as I had said before, most of the rainfall with this activity is well ahead of the center of it. And thereafter, as the system moves across into Guatemala and eventually Mexico, it will dissipate rapidly and conditions will begin to clear up significantly. The whites indicate limited to no rainfall across Belize later in the cycle. And by Tuesday, we should see fair weather as indicated previously. So I will leave it at that and hand over to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Ms. Tennille, please go ahead with your updates.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Belize. I'm just sharing with you the update as it relates to the flooding situation in the country. Our forecast was issued earlier today. And as you noticed, a departure from yesterday, we have several flood alerts and warnings. We have an urban flood alert in effect for low-lying areas. We have flood warnings remaining in place for the Rio Hondo, Mopan, and Belize rivers. And as I alluded to yesterday, the Sabine River was rising and that is now under flood warning. We have a severe flood warning in effect for the San Ignacio low-lying bridge and the Iguana Creek Bridge. Additionally, we have placed a landslide warning in effect for the areas of the eastern slopes of the Maya Mountains. What we are seeing is that in the north, we're seeing decreasing levels at this time for flood levels, but we are seeing some of those increasing as is expected. And all the facilities at the Fortis dams are active. And so we need to remain cautious. We don't want to excite anyone, but we're just giving what the status of the flooding is at this position. Closer into Belize City, we're still seeing flood levels at Double Run. The levels at the Crooked Tree Lagoon are increasing, but they are expected to remain below the spillway. And I don't know if okay, it's probably in the way. You can see with the flood forecast here for San Ignacio, it is approaching very, very direct or straight, almost in a linear motion, and this signals flash flooding. And we have this for the San Ignacio and the Freetown Sabine area. For our forecast, and I put this here for the public to have an idea of what we say when we speak about models changing and times and the forecast changes. This image here that you're seeing was the forecast that I presented yesterday. As you're seeing, most of these streams in the north central region and even in the south, they were showing 2-year return periods. Now I did the same run this morning, and we can see where there are marked changes in terms of the flooding conditions on these systems. So this is what we mean by these are forecasts, they're models, and they change with time and movement in the atmosphere. In terms of urban flooding, these are some images captured this morning where we're seeing urban flooding conditions in effect. And as well as this image is from San Ignacio at the low-level bridge. We're seeing that you can't even see just the roadway here on the opposite side, on the western side of the entrance to the low-level bridge. And this is where the deck was built. Apologies, my words are leaving me today. But the flood levels are now up to this level. So this is severe flooding conditions that San Ignacio, the Cayo, the West is under. We had a landslide event on a small scale this morning through the Hummingbird Highway, and this is expected. Despite the product not showing a positive here, this landslide forecast is valid for 24 hours, but it's on a large scale. So small scale landslides such as this one, it would not show as a positive up here. In closing, our alerts and warnings, as Minister said, as Chief Met said, And I'm sure Mr. Mendes will say that we need to remain alert and listen to the advisories coming from the national entities. Rivers in the and some persons might be expecting them to already flood. That is not the case. Before this event, the rivers were at normal state, so they have quite a little bit of capacity to take in some waters into their channels, but we need to be vigilant that as the rainfall volumes play an important role in this, as well as the transboundary nature in terms of rainfall coming from Guatemala and Mexico. These will influence the capacity of those rivers to absorb that water into their river channels, not producing flooding conditions. These rivers off the eastern slopes are prone to flash flooding. Flash flooding can occur from a 1-hour window. For the coastal plains highway, these rivers also are fed from some of the major rivers off the eastern slopes of the Maya Mountains, so they have a high potential for flash flooding to occur. In the north, we can expect that based on the current forecast that the flooding conditions would be exacerbated in that area. And overall, we just want to advise the public to exercise extreme caution as we traverse the country today. The conditions are changing and they change by the minute. So please adhere to our advisories, and we will be doing our best to give you updated information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Mr. Mendez, please go ahead.
Good morning. Let me pull up my slides. Again, good morning, everyone. The following is an update from the National Emergency Management Agent Organization. What we have been doing, given all the information that has been presented earlier, all of the emergency operations centers across the country are open. This means that we have persons on duty and will remain on duty until the all clear is given. Our district coordinators, the Nemo district coordinators, are on duty right now and are preparing to respond to any requests for assistance that come into our office. The National Emergency Operations Center here in Belmopan is open, and we will be monitoring and supporting any response across the country as required. As indicated by the Met Service, we here at the Nemo Secretariat continue to prepare for high rainfall and strong winds. We are also preparing for potential flooding in parts of the country, which will require a level of response. Again, as has been highlighted, residents, especially those living along waterways, are urged to remain vigilant and be prepared to implement your emergency plans. As has been reported, there have been reports of flood conditions in some areas. We have also received information of high water in the Hopkins area. You have seen the images from San Ignacio, and you also will note that the roads to San Antonio and San Roman in Orange Walk District remain flooded. The MIDH and the Transport Department are responding to reports of the landslide reported on the Hummingbird Highway, and we will continue to have teams prepared to do this work. Points to note, again, as I stressed yesterday, all interests, especially those in Southern Belize, must pay close attention and should implement your emergency plans now. Persons living in areas on it, and be prepared to implement your emergency plans. Once again, we're stressing to the organizers of public events to postpone their events until the all clear is given in the interest of public safety. Business owners are asked to update your business continuity plans and be prepared to implement them. We are also asking that they ensure the safety of their employees by giving them enough time to prepare their own families. Again, all motorists are asked to drive with extreme care to avoid accidents due to slippery road conditions and the potential for flash flooding. Please avoid driving in flood waters. Updates from today: bus operations remain normal depending on road conditions. The Transport Department continues to monitor bridges, roads, and highways, and any changes to this will be reported immediately. The Philip Goldson International Airport will remain open for operations today. Flights to the southern parts of the country remain suspended until the all clear is issued. Flights to other destinations are expected to continue as scheduled. Water taxis will cease operations at midday today. Seaports in the affected areas will close at 2 p.m. and all other vessels are asked to remain in safe harbor and to be securely moored. In response to the question I was posed earlier, shelters will be opened as required across the country. This information will be available through the district coordinator in your area. Again, these are the contact numbers for our district coordinators. They are on every advisory that we are putting out. Importantly, if you need to know the status of shelters in your area, please contact these persons. They will give you that information and they will give you guidance on what to do. We're back to Ms. Tina. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez.
Sorry, I forgot several other points. I had been reminded that as we look at the potential for flooding in the Belize River Valley area, we are urging farmers in that area to start to make your preparations if there's a need to move animals in preparation for flood conditions. I also would like to urge people to refrain from playing in or trying to attempt to swim in flood waters. That is very dangerous. Also, we have to consider the health aspect post-disaster. We will be providing more guidance on this through the Ministry of Health post-event. So with that, I end my part. Thank you.
Thank you too. I like that you shared that swimming in water because I was just going to remind the public, it's not only driving, but I saw an update from breaking news that someone was trying to attempt to cross the Iguana Creek Bridge, walking across, and we specifically stated that that bridge is closed. Nemo shares an update every day, if not, of our road closures, bridges, and ferries. So please look out for those advisories as well. We will share a recent one immediately after the briefing. With that, I will open the floor to questions. I see Jules, you're ready. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Gordon and everyone else. Would you speak about the weakening of the storm and the slight reduction I saw in the Nemo advisory? That originally yesterday you were saying that it could make landfall. I think it was 50 to 70 miles an hour. Now it's forecast for 50 miles an hour, and I see the storm itself at 9 a.m. had maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. Would you? And you also showed us how it's totally lacking in organization. Would you speak about that for us?
Yes, good morning. Sure. The system has taken a battering over northern Honduras. Land interaction has significantly disrupted the circulation, and the current forecast, taking into account that situation, shows that it will not be able to reorganize itself enough in the very short window of opportunity that it will have as it moves off Honduras and crosses the mainland of Belize and reaches our shores.
And just as a follow-up, the time frame for it doing that remains the same, however, late tonight or this evening, early this evening. Yes?
For it to move off and begin to, yeah, it's already drifting away. I just saw on the last advisory, so it has taken that west-northwesterly turn and drifting away at 2 miles per hour. And that will continue throughout today and with a faster forward speed later tonight. Expected landfall on Belize for the center will be between 6 a.m. and midday tomorrow morning.
Okay, and then and speak if you can also. We know that it's full moon. It was full moon yesterday. Tides are very high. I think the high tide was at 10:45 this morning, a few minutes ago. The enhanced that those living in coastal areas have to be aware that flooding is more likely with the vicissitudes of the tides.
Yes, of course, Jules. So certainly, if we have high tide, and we are dealing with a full moon, as we have been saying before, during that period, we typically get higher tides, and therefore the flooding situation will be worsen, or it will be worse.
Okay, and then finally from me, you showed in the models, you showed one of those blue areas of intense thunderstorm or shower activity, and you said that it could bring down a few inches in a few hours, which of course we know is highly consequential, being everywhere is already inundated. Would you? I know it's only a model, only a forecast, but when is that predicted to happen? What exactly is the time frame?
You're referring to the excessive rainfall in that particular model frame I showed?
Right, yeah. You showed one that had this the deep blue
The purple, like,
over maybe western Belize or the Maya Mountains.
yes, that was over the Maya Mountains, and that is based on the global forecasting system model. It is forecasted to occur between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. tonight. That's the 3 hour time frame for that very, very high amount of rainfall. Again, it's a model, so it could be more or less.
It could be more or less chronologically and geographically.
And geographically, and also amount. Yes.
If nobody else is jumping in, I just, if the minister is still on, would you speak about the overall conditions out there on San Pedro right now? We know that if we've seen those high readings from Marga Key and Middle Key, we know that San Pedro is not far, or Burgers Key is not far away from Marga Key. Okay, I guess he's moved on.
Okay, thank you, Jules. Miss Maria, please go ahead.
Yes, we know this is a late storm for Belize. And then has it happened before that we have had two landfalls of tropical storms within the space of 1 month? And what are the implications going forward with that? I guess that's for Chief Met.
Yes. Yes, Ms. Maria. I don't have that data in front of me, I'll be honest. We'll look at it afterwards. We can do a little post-mortem and see if it has occurred in history. But I am not aware of it happening. And the implications going forward, as we know, we are in an era where our climate is changing, so we can expect the unexpected, if I can say it like that. We're getting extremes in all areas, whether extended dry spells or tropical cyclones and severe flooding. So certainly, there's no denying that we are living in an era where our climate is certainly changing for the worse.
Okay, thank you. I had another question. With the amount of rain, especially on the island, is there any statement as to formation of sinkholes along the coast or in our kind of limestone area?
I'm not sure if we have any agency in this group that will be able to answer that question. I certainly, from a Met perspective, would not be able to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maria. Paul, go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning. Mr. Gordon, could you expound a bit more on what you mean by the worst of the weather is ahead of the center of the system and what that could look like in more detail today versus tomorrow?
Well, first of all, let me say again that the major threat from this tropical storm is not the winds, right? 45-mile-per-hour winds, I don't want to downplay anything, but it's not a significantly strong winds. So I'm very careful with my words now because we are told not to use low end, but certainly it's not on the upper end of the tropical storm, what could be a tropical storm. So the hazard, the major threat from Tropical Storm Sarah is the rainfall and the abundant amount of rainfall that has been occurring. And as you can see, and as I presented both on the radar imagery and on the satellite imagery, the bulk of that rainfall is way ahead of that center of circulation. And that is what I mean by the most severe part of the system is ahead of it, is ahead of the center. I hope that helps.
So is that to say then that tomorrow morning, the most of it will be the winds?
Yes, tomorrow morning, this one we'll probably get the gustier winds coming in because the stronger winds are typically close to the center. But the models are indicating, and I would tend to be more confident with the models right now, that at that point the rainfall would be less. Not to say it's going to be a sunny day. Not to say that you will walk out there and go on the beach and relax because it's all sunny. There will be rain, but the volume of rainfall and the intensity of the rainfall, according to the model, will be significantly less than today and tonight.
All right, that's good to know for people who may have plans for Sunday. Mr. Mendes, if I could ask you one quick question. We've been seeing several highway accidents taking place throughout the course of the last couple of days. What have you all observed in terms of how the rain is contributing to any of these accidents, and what further advice would you have for motorists?
Okay, thank you for that question. That's a very good question, but for the transport department, what we can say is, like, as we had put in our advisory, that the road conditions are very slippery. There are potential for flash flooding, as you had heard from the hydrology department, and this can contribute to definitely accidents directly related to this rain. We stress once again, don't drive through flooded waters. Exercise extreme caution when you are on the roads. You can look outside and see it's raining very hard and it's coming in very strong bursts. And ensure that your car is in very good condition. So our advice remains: exercise extreme caution. Don't drive in flooded waters. We will continue to liaise with the transport department for further guidance, and we will ensure that this guidance is put out from that department.
Excellent. And then finally, just for clarification, is the highway, the Hummingbird Highway, where the small mudslide took place, is that possible at this point?
Yes, I at my last when my last interaction, it was open. It was being cleared by Ministry of Infrastructure and Development and assisted by a team from the Transport Department who are out guiding traffic. So that road, as far as I am aware, remains open.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any more questions from the media?
Yes, I just wanted to ask Mr. Mendes if we have any clarity yet on. I know that water taxis, as from midday, they're closed. That was clear. But any clarity yet on hours of work, or when businesses should close the warning is for the entire coast, I think. And what is the status for airports?
Okay, I reported earlier that the airport is open and will remain operational for the rest of today. Based on the assessment, the Department of Civil Aviation will be providing any updates as necessary. But for today, the airport remains open. Regarding the closure of businesses and so on, We are closely watching that, and we will be sending out some guidance very soon.
Thanks.
Any other questions? We have time for one more. Paul, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I don't have another question.
Okay. With that, we will close today's briefing. I want to thank you all for tuning in and a reminder to please following our updates and to remain safe. Thank you, everyone. Stay dry, stay safe, and have a good remainder of your day.
Hey, I could ask one more thing about storm surge. One more thing about storm surge.
I will allow that, Jules. Go ahead.
In the early advisories, it was saying 1 to 3 feet, but I didn't see it in the most recent advisory. Is the guidance on that changing because of the storm not holding together well?
Thank you, Jules. You clipped that one in for the end, no? What happened is that the Hurricane Center, if you look at their advisory, they are still going for 1 to 3 feet. I am using my own judgment based on the fact that this system is coming in as a tropical storm. The 3 feet, as I mentioned yesterday, would typically indicate for us at least a Category 1 hurricane or upper tropical storm. But based on the current forecast, we will be receiving a tropical storm at the most of around 50 miles per hour. If you listen to our advisory, we are not sticking to the 45 miles per hour as Hurricane Center is showing, but we are giving ourselves at least the slight possibility that this thing could strengthen a bit more before it gets here at about 50 miles per hour. But even so, our estimate based on the model that we have run here on the HOREVAC platform would suggest for such a weak system, you won't get more than about 2 feet of storm surge. And that would occur, like I said yesterday, in a very, very narrow area just north of where the system makes landfall.
Okay, thank you for that. We will now close the press briefing. Again, remain safe and follow our updates.